Alright, so welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be restoring this AHM GP18. Let's just get right into it. This one I also got in that lot of free trains. Well, for free. And it actually ran pretty well, but it had some noise issues, so I thought it would just be good to restore it. It's in much better condition than my other one, but I still like my other one a lot better. Just because of sentimental reasons for it. This one, I think, might actually become mainly a switcher. So, maybe we'll do some switching videos with it in the future or something. Let me get that screw out of there. And we can pull the shell off. It's missing that little clip there. The first thing I'm going to do immediately is clean off the commutator. It doesn't look too bad, but there still is stuff on it, so if I get it cleaner, it'll just run a little bit better. So there. Now what we're going to do is actually completely tear down the trucks to get it apart. So we're going to do this truck here first. So what you've got to do for the trucks is to just pull these clips off. Then you can pull this whole truck out here. Then you can pull everything out. Doesn't actually seem too dirty in here, but we're going to completely open it up anyway. There is a fair bit of grease in here that I think we should clean out. I mean, I don't really think it's dirty enough to actually have to take the trucks and stuff apart. Much more than this. The thing I am going to take out, though, is the worm gear, because that seems to be probably the dirtiest. The worm gear, like, easier to clean when you take it out. I did also buy another engine, and it will be here soon, but you probably won't see it in any videos until May 16th, due to a specific event that I happened to catch on that day that's related to the item I bought. Some people know what I'm talking about, but for others who don't know, it'll be a surprise until then. I think that worm gear is pretty cleaned off. Yeah, again, I just don't think there's so much dirt at all in here, and it's just going to be really easy to clean out for this truck, at least. The biggest thing we've got to do is just take out this big chunk of grease and stuff in here. Just get as much of it out of the gearbox as possible. It's currently what we're working on. This gear's come out. This one could kind of be in the way sometimes, so might be good to kind of just have that one out in the way. Get the last bit of grease and gunk off this. I don't think this one was run much. The whole box seemed to have just been sitting out and not touched in a while, so not sure if anything in here had many miles at all on it. Pop that gear back into place, and the worm gear back into place. I'm going to lubricate everything before we close this truck up, just because first thing we're going to do is the worm gear, because that's kind of an important thing to keep cleaned and properly lubricated. Everything is important to keep properly lubricated, but the worm gear is a slightly more important part. Now I'm just going to sprinkle some Label 102 on some of these gears. They aren't perfectly clean. There's not much that needs to be cleaned out of here. So all we really need to do is just add a little bit of fresh oil to the mix here. Then I think we can begin to close this thing up. Then we'll put some 107 on the bearings. Both sides. This one's a little bit trickier to do. Yep, I think that's pretty good. Now we're just gonna wash off the, what are they called? The wipers. While I'm doing this, I will say I have something special coming for the next video as well too, because we're gonna be building something interesting and showcasing off another interesting thing I built, so you're not gonna want to miss that one because it's going to be interesting. I'm actually going to film right after this, but it will be out in 3 days or so after this video comes out. If you're watching it later, it might already be out. So, let's put some Label 107 into the bearings. Get that all situated. Put our wheels back in. These engines I find are actually usually pretty clean inside, except for some clobs of grease, so it isn't unusual for AHM engines, and they're just really, AHM engines are pretty good overall for cheap engines. They aren't the best due to some things, like just a 3-pole motor and no flywheels, but they are really well built and don't die very easily, I'll say. Now that we got this truck here all cleaned up, position the worm gear shaft to properly put it in. And once we get this all in here, all you've got to really do now, snap that in. I think I did this one wrong a little bit. I think you want to keep the wires on the outside of it. Yeah. I'm just going to move those back a little bit. So now let's go on to the rear truck. This one seems to not want to come out as easily. That one I plopped on the floor. Let me just grab that really quick. Just so we don't forget about it. Let's pull this truck out now. Now we can do the same process with less explaining on this side. These are pretty easy things to fix up, I'd say. I'm going to just move that wheel set, and it's kind of rolling a fair amount. Since everything here just already fell out, I'm just going to clean it all. Just because it'll help. First, I'll just start by cleaning off all the gearings and casings. They actually don't seem that dirty. Yeah, that one's pretty good. I'm gonna save the worm gear for last, just because it seems to usually be the most dirty. Get this other little gear here done. Then I'll clean off this gear. This truck does definitely seem cleaner than the other one. Then let's clean up this worm gear. Get a fair bit of that old grease and such out of there. So then we're going to use this. Then I'm going to rub this in a little bit. Isn't perfect, but it'll work again. Now all I really want to do is get these other gears positioned in here properly, which putting these gears back in is a lot of times a pretty tricky thing to do. This time it seems as if they don't as these ones aren't causing many problems. So while they're here, I'll just give them a little bit of this label, the 102, just to clean up, just to get a bit of oil on those gears so it can mix around. This one I'm gonna put more on, just due to the fact that it has more friction. So we'll put that on. Then we will put this cover here back on. Perfect. Now I'll go clean off the sides of these trucks. Or the wipers, I mean. Keep forgetting the name of them for some reason. Now we'll go with the 107, get all the bearings hit up here. All of them. There. Now we've just got to do these wheels, which aren't at all dirty. I'm going to fill the bearings with 107 a little bit. Just a little film of it. Put some 102 around each of the gears as they go in. That should be more than enough 107, or 10, whatever number it is, 10 something. That should be more than enough for that one. 102 on this one, again. I think that's pretty good. So, put both the gears back in, or not gears, the axles back in the wipers. Put this on in. Snap it together so the engine will go together. There we go. Ah, it's on backwards. Hang on a second. It's kind of important to, get your truck cover on the correct way. It isn't something that's very easy to mess up, but you can mess it up. Especially if you have a broken truck cover. Here, wait, I think I put the worm gear on backwards. That's our problem. Give me a second to put that in the correct order. You can do that, as you just saw I put it in the wrong way. So that's something you should be cautious of as well. So that's back on. It's all oiled up again. Let's put the wheels back in their bearings. The oil will still be there, in case you're wondering. Once you get it aligned correctly, just snap it in. Plop your little truck into here. Snap on your clip. Then the engine itself is done, so you can put your shell back on to go test your engine. Just gotta make sure you don't have any wires or anything in the way. Put back in the screws. One of them. Now we've just got one more screw to put back in. Then we can go test this engine and see how it runs. Alright, so let's go head over to the test track now. Alright, so let's give it a little bit of a test run. It does seem to actually run a little bit better this way. I think it might be something with the commutator. Let's bring it back a little bit. So, thanks for watching, and if you want to see another video with an AHM GP18, click on the screen around now.